Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, Bree. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just on my way to work and getting things
Yep,
ready for getting things ready for the day.
same here. Got my coffee and head into the office as we speak. So,
Chris, I've known you forever, and I'm so glad we're having a little chat. I was just talking to one of my friends, Rebecca Love, and she was talking to another chief nursing officer about making connections with startup companies. And you're a lawyer who's been in this world for a long time. You've been devoted to the little guy like us, that are really trying to push innovation in a different direction. It's a wild landscape for startup companies right now. I don't know if you want to say a couple words about that. I don't know if it's so much different than maybe the sine wave of companies. But the conversation was, in this climate for startups, do health organizations opt for that cutting edge innovation, or do they stay with the tried and true larger organizations, given that the agile nature of what you get with a startup is at risk, but the stability is more of a known factor? I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, look, healthcare and health tech is sort of the last frontier, right? Because of the obviously the super sensitive nature of the information in electronic health records. And so when you're a healthcare system, who I think by definition, because of that, are conservative entities, I think in this environment where everything, as we know, has gone from sort of on-prem to in the clouds, I think
Right.
healthcare organizations have always been sensitive, but I think in this environment in particular, where cyber attacks and hacks and things like that, they're only going to get more common, not less common. I think if you're a large healthcare institution, something like, what, maybe we're better off going with the Oracle or the Microsoft or whoever the Leviathans are in the tech space, because if there's a throat I need to choke, I'd much rather have to, rely on like an Oracle versus a
Mhm.
tech startup. So I think startups in your space in particular have always, but I think particularly in this environment, are subject to that, right? It's like, oh, you've got a great
Yeah.
offering, but can I trust you're going to be around the next year? Or can I trust that you can make me whole if, God forbid, there's a breach of your platform and, some of my patient's information is compromised, right?
Right, right. Well, I mean, the cybersecurity thing, that's one. Like, I feel like the certification, the due diligence you have to go through, that doesn't seem to be the hurdle we're coming across. I think it's the hot debate has been the question of longevity. Like,
Right.
how much more at risk are we right now, given that startup companies, it's always rough as a startup company, but it seems a little bit more brutal out there than usual in regards to fundraising and getting to the next kind of pole position, you know, finish line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you're right. I mean, in this environment, right, starting in Q2 of last year, venture investing slowed down dramatically, right? And so
Right.
I think you're right that there's also, while there's always probably the longevity question in a well-established company's mind about a startup in this environment where it has gotten harder to raise money, that's the more existential question of, are they going to be around just because they're going to run out of runway, they can't raise money. Now, that said, I think, knock on wood, I think things are going to get dramatically better again for startups. The environment, I think, will improve in 2024. It won't necessarily be
Cool.
back to the halcyon days of yore, but I think it's going to be a much better environment. I think startups will have more financial security because I think they'll have a greater ability to raise capital than they've certainly had in 2023, which has been, just a terrible, terrible year to try to raise capital.
I love hearing that about the new year. That sounds great to me.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Come on, 2024. I mean, we've been healthy. It's, we're in nursing. It's a different, place in tech where there's such a need for virtual nursing solutions and, just a few of us that are in the field. So we've been kind of blessed to be able to grow in this wild climate. But I think too, Cain, of your career, I mean, why are you in this wild space? I mean, it's cutting edge innovation, it's high risk, high reward. But I was just remembering, back before when I was still at Epic and we were working out at Madtown, and you had such a devotion to the people you worked with. I mean, there was RX Bar. I'll never forget, you had be making sure that our Expire was not only in our box, but in our suitcase, because you knew we were going to other boxes and you had this just personal investment and devotion to the companies. I mean, I know that, and you also help coach teams in regards to what the unique stance is as an entrepreneur. I know I'm so grateful for your expertise and candid guidance, and keeping such a mind to our health, and our ability to thrive, as opposed to just feeling like you're the lawyer, and such. But why? I mean, why do you do it? I think it's a really hard environment, in regards to other things you could do. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it wasn't smart enough to be an engineer, so I became a lawyer. No, but I mean, I think the short answer is I've always been fascinated by innovation. I love innovation, and it started off on the tech side, right? I was a little gadget geek as a kid, and I've always been fascinated by people and companies pushing the envelope. And I really admire entrepreneurs for, I mean, people like you who had, a very successful career at Epic, and you sort of give it all up to, take a salary of zero and, put
Yeah.
your money where your mouth is and, dip into your savings. And I've always admired that. And I think a lot of us lawyers that practice in the venture space admire that, but we don't have sort of the moxie and the guts to do it. So the second best thing is to live vicariously by, representing clients like you and representing startups. And so I think that's part of it. It's getting that itch out when you're not bold enough to do it yourself. But it's also just exciting to be associated with companies that are on the edge of building something new and taking risks and seeing what flies and pivoting. And it's just a very dynamic environment. As I told my son, ideally what you do for a living, you love, right? And I do love being a lawyer, but I love it in no small part because I want to be passionate about the clients that I work with, and I want to not just be their lawyer, but I want to be their advisor. I want to help them. I want to be their friend. I want to understand their business. And to me, the venture environment and the startup environment is, to me, the perfect way to do that. And to me, we could look. I work for a large law firm. We have lots of really big institutional clients. And anyway, to me, it's an exciting environment to practice in, and I love working with entrepreneurs, and so that's why I continue to do it, and I'll do it until the day I retire. So.
Well, I've got to say, it's meant so much for our company. I mean, especially when you really need to be at the table with these, fantastic health organizations, and they need expertise, and that you have just injected that into our company and such. It just goes way beyond, just a role and your experience. We're super grateful, Chris. Thank you so much, and it's so good to catch up.
Absolutely, Bria. Happy to do it, and so thrilled that I'm working with you and the rest of the ND crew.